Good day, my friends, and welcome to episode 4 of Morals Podcast. Today we have Grandpa Glasses.
That's me.
That's you. Mhm.
Yeah. That's not
Alright.
a Five Nights at Freddy's reference, by the way.
Oh, I have never played that.
Oh, they suck.
Alright, fair enough. So, would you like to tell me a little bit about what you do on your YouTube channel?
Sure. It's pretty simple. I record myself talking about movies and then I just upload the video pretty much with a lot of editing, obviously. So it's basically just a movie review channel.
Oh, okay, cool. Cool. So, yeah, for this podcast, we're going to be talking about some movies, of course. First one we're going to talk about is the Star Wars episodes from 4 to 6. So, we're going to talk
The
about.
original trilogy.
Yeah, so we're just gonna talk about episode 4 first, and then we'll go to 5 and then 6. Alright, so episode 4.
A New Hope.
Yeah, episode 4, A New Hope.
The one everyone seems to love.
I think that's the one where most people they start off first, right? When they start watching the original Star Wars.
Yeah, it's the most influential one. It's one everyone knows. The weird thing about the Star Wars movies is that the prequels, 1 through 3, were made after 4 through 6, because during the production of Empire Strikes Back, George Lucas is like, oh man, there's enough material here for a bunch of prequels, so I'll make that later. And then he did.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how he has it all set up. Wait, I forgot how it starts. It starts off with
It starts out with the Empire chasing Leia's ship, and 3PO being like, "Oh, there's no escape this time."
Oh yeah, then that's when I saw R2D2 and then 3C. What's that gold robot's name? I forgot his name.
It's it's C3PO.
3CPO, yeah. And they were just trying to get out the ship or something.
They don't explain why they're on the ship. They're just like Leia's robots, I guess. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, they were like just there in the ship. How did they get there in the first place? So yeah, let's
Yeah.
rewind.
Yeah, it's like Leia never like talks to them about it again, so it's just kind of like, "Oh, they were just on the ship, whatever. It doesn't matter."
Yeah, later on they're in some place, I forgot what place, but Luke is in his home, right?
Yeah, there's like this whole sequence where like 3PO and Co get captured by Jawas, and then Luke shows up and they're like buying robots. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
remember why they're buying the robots though.
I think just do like stuff around the house or like fixing stuff, I guess.
Something like that. I think they needed like an interpreter for like their water processor or something. Something silly.
Yeah. Then like later on, he learns about somebody named Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then tries to find out who that is.
Yeah, and then, and then he like goes to Ben Kenobi and he's like, "Oh, do you know who Obi-Wan
Oh
is?"
yeah. I was like, oh, I haven't heard that
Gosh.
name in ages.
It's like, who could it possibly be? Man, it's
Oh,
such a mystery.
yeah.
uh, I
That's funny.
really, I really love A New Hope. I think it's a really fun movie.
It's like in Dora the
You could
Explorer.
tell.
It's like, do you know where the mountain is, or do you know where this
Uh,
place is? Oh, it's right behind
yeah,
you.
yeah, it's kind of like that. It's just such like you could tell that George Lucas really had an idea, and then he had like all these people helping him make this idea, and he made a really fun movie.
Yeah.
It's really no wonder that Star Wars is still like super popular today. It's because the first movie was really freaking good.
Right. And then Ben Kenobi tells Luke about his father was a Jedi Knight. Yeah, it was
And
also one of his closest friends, and he was killed by Darth Vader.
spoilers, that's not how it actually goes, but we'll get to that.
All right. Okay. Then
The
he learns.
dialogue in A New Hope, it's kind of stilted now that I think about it. Um,
Why do you say that?
but it's just the way that it's written, you can tell that it's like harkening back to all those old serials. I don't know, just not well made, but it works with like that first movie because the actors are really good. And, I got Alec Guinness saying all this dialogue to make it seem, richer.
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue gets better as the original trilogy goes on, but like with the first one, it's just like, look, sir, droids.
Mm-hmm. And later on, Luke finds out that there's a hidden memory inside R2D2, and then there's like a little hologram of Princess Leia, a little message to save her.
hmm Yeah, I guess Obi-Wan served her father in the Clone Wars, her adopted father, basically just like a cry for help. Because, like, at the beginning of the movie, it shows her recording the message and then, getting captured and stuff like that.
Yeah, she gets captured in the Death Star. Darth Vader's trying to find out from her where the hidden rebel base is, and then they want to just destroy it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, when they blow up Alderaan, I've seen so many memes of like that one moment.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I'm talking about? Where like
Uh-huh.
Obi-Wan's sitting down and he's like, as if millions of people cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. Yeah. Oh gosh, that's like his most known line, I believe.
Okay. And then after that, Obi-Wan and Luke try to get like a ship to take him to Alderaan, the
Right,
princess
they
home
were trying to
planet.
get a
Yeah.
a transport, and Han Solo just happened to be around, I guess.
Yeah, he just happened
No,
to be in the, was it like a bar or something like that? Or
yeah,
with
the cantina.
the cantina with Chewbacca.
Hmm. I think it shows like Obi-Wan talking to Chewbacca somehow. They don't explain that. I guess Obi-Wan kind of knows Wookiee or something.
But I guess we need subtitles. No, I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Kind of like with R2D2, the whole point of Chewbacca is how people react to him as opposed to like what he's actually saying. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not sure what kind of character that's called though.
Like interpreters or just like a little sidekick.
Yeah, I suppose that's what it is. 3PO talks a lot, so you
Oh
know.
yeah, everyone's like, oh, shut up, you know. Like your family guy,
Yeah.
like, shut up, Meg.
Yeah, he gets annoying after a while, but you know, it's all from good intentions, so I don't really mind him that much.
Yeah, of course, he has good intentions. Like, he's not the bad guy. He's not.
Yeah, he's not force choking people.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah, so they go in the Millennium Falcon and they try to find the Death Star.
They were trying to get to Alderaan because Leia was requesting for Obi-Wan's help, but when they get to Alderaan, it's freaking a bunch of asteroids and stuff. It's like Alderaan's not there. It's like, what do you mean he's not there? And
Was it because it
you
got
know,
destroyed or?
yeah, because the Death Star blows it up.
Oh yeah, which goes back to
Um,
the meme.
Yep. That's where the meme comes from. So while they're out in there, they see a little TIE fighter just like out in the middle of space, and they're like, oh, let's blow it up because it knows where we are. Um, and as like they approach the Death Star, there's another meme. It's like, that's no moon, that's a space station. You know? They go inside the Death Star and, you know, they like hide in the floorboards to like avoid some stormtroopers. They like go into like that control booth, I guess, so they can escape the tractor beam or something.
But I remember they were just navigating through the Death Star and then they find Leia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. 3PO like looks up a monitor and like R2 was like searching for Leia, I guess, and he finds her in like a prison cell. So Luke's like, we gotta go save her, and Han's like, I'm not gonna save her, you
Oh
know.
yeah. Yeah, you gotta save the princess.
Yeah, that typical trope. And
Oh
then
yeah.
when like they actually save Leia, it's funny because she's like the most competent person out of like the whole group. Like she ends up saving their butts when they're in that hallway.
Oh yeah. Mhm. It's like, oh, just give me that gun. You're like, da 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 da. You're
Yeah,
not
and they
doing
just go
anything.
through it.
Mhm.
There's a lot of good moments like that. The characters are just so like even with like the dialogue kind of sucking, the characters are just so lifelike, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they're real people, you know, in like this sci-fi world. You gotta keep in mind in like 1977, characters like Leia, like a strong female protagonist in like a big budget movie. Well, not really big budget, more like mid budget, but you know, it was pretty out there, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Women in general in like movies before then, you know, like those posters where like the chicks like sitting there holding on to the guy's
Oh, like
arm.
propaganda?
Yeah, kind of like that. They just weren't really independent. And then you get to like Leia, and you know, she's like a boss. She's just taking care of everything.
She's a boss.
Yeah, I haven't said that in years. My brother like watched that video like 6 years ago, and he still like references it. He's like a boss.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like because someone you know says it, it's like really funny. But like when you actually watch it, it's like, oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. It's the timing.
Hmm.
So
Um,
episode 4 ends with Luke destroying the Death Star with his fighter jet, right?
he joins the attack force. They try and blow up the Death Star. What I like about that part is before Luke does like his little shuttle run through that part of the Death Star, it shows a guy before then failing to do it. Like he only like hits the surface.
Oh yeah.
I really like that because it makes it seem like, you know, it's a really difficult thing to do. It's not something everyone can do. Creating vulnerability with your heroes, creating like risk is always like a good thing to have, in my opinion. It's a good screenwriting thing to do, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's like these protagonists, they have a probability that they can die. Unlike somebody like Deathpool, he just can't die, you know?
Yeah, it's a bit like that. Those Marvel movies have a problem of not it doesn't feel risky enough. Like it doesn't feel like there's enough stakes going on despite like all those visuals, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just kind of like people cracking jokes and then the movie ends and you watch the next one.
pretty much. Okay, so continuing on to episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh
So,
god, I adore Empire Strikes Back. I think it's the best Star Wars movie that we've gotten. We've gotten like 8 of them. I think it's the best one.
yeah, so after they destroy it, the Empire, they just regroup and then they try to find the new location of the rebel base because
Right.
apparently they didn't destroy it.
Well, they destroyed the Death Star, but the Empire is so powerful that they just like only dealt a blow to them, if that makes sense. Because they still have like all these resources. I mean, they had all those resources to build the Death Star in the first place.
Yeah, this one it kind of
And
starts in some place that looks like Antarctica.
yeah, it starts on a snow planet. I think they've been like camping out there for like a few months or something like that. And then like a probe droid crashes down and Luke's like, oh, what's that? You know? And then a freaking arm just like comes out from like behind the frame and hits him.
Yeah, and then that's the point where like Han, he's just like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna do my own thing. And then Leia tries to convince him to like, hey, why don't you just stay with us? We need to
I
still
like
be part of the rebellion.
yeah. I really like how the characters develop in this movie cuz Han at the very beginning of the movie, like you said, he's just kind of like a coward, you know, he wants to just like pay off Jabba. He doesn't want to be part of this anymore.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
a lot of people reference the big romance plot between Leia and Han. You know, it was a really big moment, but I feel like the moment that was like more larger for me was when Han decides to like go out into the cold and like try and get Luke, you know, try and rescue him. I think that was like a really big moment for him.
Yeah, that's when they start like quarreling. Like they start like denying, I guess, some sort of like, oh, he likes her.
It's just Han is like going from like this guy who like shoots somebody in a bar before like they could shoot him to like, you know, becoming like a better person, which I really like.
Right. Yeah, then this is the episode where Luke finally meets Yoda. This one.
Oh yeah. Yoda is so he's just great. I love that little guy.
I mean, he sees Yoda, but he doesn't really know that's Yoda. So
Yeah, because what Luke's expecting is like this great Jedi Knight, you know, like freaking Conan the Barbarian or something like that.
yeah,
And instead he like gets this little green alien. Yoda really is great. He's just so wise, you know. He's telling Luke all these things about the Force and things like we didn't know as an audience.
yeah, and he was telling him to do all these things without actually knowing he's Yoda, and then he's trying to figure out why is he doing these things, like his training, and then he finally finds out that he's Yoda.
The thing about Yoda is that he's constantly testing Luke throughout that whole sequence, and Luke is constantly failing,
Yeah,
which I think is pretty big. It goes back to what I was saying before. The fact that he fails so much makes him a more interesting character.
yeah, exactly. Protagonists like they have their own moments like of failure, and then eventually they work their way back up. They're not gonna
Yeah,
always
it
succeed
seems
or
like a really basic thing, right?
right.
So they go to Cloud City, I believe, after like that whole asteroid sequence. They introduce Lando. Can we talk about him for a second? He's a pretty interesting character. How long ago since have you seen these movies, by the way?
A couple years ago or something like that. It's been a while
Yeah.
back since I've seen him, so I have like some memory of what happened in these
Yeah,
movies.
I'm basically in the same position. I saw them like a few months ago. A lot of people were talking about Star Wars like all throughout my childhood, and I avoided seeing them. So like the first one I saw was Attack of the Clones, and it was like, hey, this is pretty good. And then I watched all of them, and you know, here I am now, right?
Yeah, right.
So Lando Calrissian is like Han's old friend who's like part of a mining colony on Cloud City. It's so interesting how many characters introduced in Empire Strikes Back are just as iconic as the original characters, which is pretty rare for a sequel, unless it's like a Marvel movie, you know.
Right. Okay. The planet of Bespin. Yeah, that's what it's. Yeah,
Bespin, that's what it
Bespin.
is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the design of Bespin.
Bespin.
Best.
Bespin.
It's such an interesting way of like creating a city. They did the same thing with Coruscant in the prequels, where it's just like the planet is literally just a city, and then the rest of it doesn't matter. I always wondered if there was like actually like a ground level to that planet, or if it was just like, as it says, clouds, because they had to build the city on top of something, right?
Right.
It's not just floating there, I don't think. There's like a support pillar or something.
Maybe it was just floating or something. Who knows?
I mean, it's a sci-fi movie. Maybe they're just using magic. They got the Force in there.
Yeah. Okay, I
I,
remember who Lando is. He's like the one guy that they see first when they enter the Cloud City, right?
right, and like at first he's like all suspicious of Han, like he's messing with him, and then he's just like, Han, old buddy.
Yeah, then turns out he actually made a deal with Darth Vader to capture them.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that was kind of
Yeah,
scummy in a way.
I always thought that was interesting because I don't think betrayal was ever in the first movie. I mean, there's like the whole backstory of Anakin and stuff like that, but they don't really have any of like the characters that they introduce, like betray like any of the other main characters. That was like the first time that they did that. So it was pretty shocking, I feel.
Yeah, it was because none of that was on Episode 4, so that's why I found it pretty interesting.
I can't imagine what it was like to see this movie for the first time because there's a lot of plot twists in the movie that you really can't expect the first time around. There's another one, but we'll get to that in a second, actually. So Han and Leia get captured, and like everyone else gets captured, and Luke rushes off to like go save them, despite Yoda being like, "No, no, your training's not complete. You won't be able to beat Darth Vader." But he like runs off anyway.
Yeah, I kind of found that interesting too.
Luke fails a lot in this movie because he's really brash. He wants to like go off and do things immediately. The same kind of thing happened in the originals. He wanted to like go off and fight the Empire, but he had to help his aunt and uncle.
He just really wanted to save the princess. Let's just face it. I was kidding.
Yeah. First time he sees that hologram, he's like, she's beautiful. And then, they make out and oh god. So Luke goes to Cloud City and he fights Vader. I always love this lightsaber fight because there's no music at all whenever they're fighting.
Oh yeah, usually there'll be like some boss music when you fight a boss in a video game, but in the case of a movie, that's like pretty interesting.
Yeah. The reason why they did that, they did the same thing with the lightsaber fight in A New Hope. It makes it feel a lot more tension filled because there's like nothing going on. It's like, oh, what's going on? Why isn't there music? You're just like watching it.
Yeah.
I like the lightsaber fight because it's not too long that you get bored of it, but it's not too short. It's like, what was that? I want to see lightsabers.
Yeah.
I love the coloring in it too, because it's like a blue and orange because of like all the smoke and stuff like that. And I don't know, that whole sequence is just brilliantly made, in my opinion.
He was just very eager to defeat him. He's like pretty angry. Luke, he was just like, ah, I just want to kill this guy already. But I guess
Yeah.
Vader at the time, he was too strong for him.
Yeah, he's actually like messing with him the entire time. If you've noticed, he's only using one hand for most of the fight for his lightsaber.
He was just testing him.
Yeah, because this was like their first fight, and obviously Vader knows who Luke is.
Yeah, then he was holding on to the bridge, and then Vader, he said like, I am your father.
Oh yeah, that's the plot twist that everyone knows.
Oh yeah.
It's so interesting. The whole original trilogy is basically public domain at this point. Everyone knows like the beats of it, but talking about it's still fun to talk about.
Yeah.
I like the plot twist that Vader is Luke's father because it doesn't really come out of nowhere. Like if you rewatch like A New Hope and stuff like that, it still fits with like what was established before.
I mean, didn't they do something like that on other episodes, like on 1 or 2? I don't remember which one, or was it 3? I don't know, I never saw those, but I just saw like 4 through 6.
There's like two major plot twists in those prequels, but none to like the scale that affected the rest of the movies like this one. Because When they were shooting Empire Strikes Back, I don't think they were actually planning on having Vader be Anakin, you know?
Yeah, because we don't know about that in 5 or in 6, other than, oh, he's his father. Like, okay.
I really just can't think of any other twists in like movie history to affect an entire series because six deals with like the fallout of all that. The prequels deal with Anakin's story, stuff like that. Episode 5 ends with the gang barely escaping, Han being frozen in carbonite, Boba Fett taking him away to Jabba, stuff like that. It's the first time in the movie where it feels like there's like a little bit of hope in there, you know?
Yeah.
Because the entire movie is just like relentless like action, like Luke having to like learn training and stuff like that. But it's like that little shot at the end of the movie where there's like sitting there watching the galaxy in the distance. It's like it's over, you know, the movie's over. It's time to go to the next one.
Yeah, I like episode 5 too. Because there's like more to it. It's like we learn more about the characters, basically.
That's right. It's just it felt bigger even though it was actually smaller scale than A New Hope, you know.
Yeah,
I think the reason for that is because the characters develop so much that it just feels like it's larger than life, you know?
right. Okay, so episode 6, The Return of the Jedi. It starts out with C-3PO and R2-D2 end up in some sort of compound with Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, Jabba the Hutt, I guess, on Tatooine for some reason. I always liked Jabba's puppet. It must have been really hard to animate him if you think about it.
Yeah, pretty big.
Yeah, you got Yoda with like his little arms. You just like move his face a little bit, and that's it. But with Jabba, you have to move like his arms. You got to move his eyes. You got to move his tail. It just sounds like a huge task to do. I have really mixed feelings about Return of the Jedi because on a technical scale, it's a really good movie. Like that space battle at like the end of the movie and stuff like that.
Because they battle again, right? Luke and Darth Vader. They battle
Yeah, they
again.
battle again and they blow up another Death Star or stuff like that.
Yeah, but let's go back to what happened way before that. So,
All right.
continuing on, Luke wanted to bargain with Jabba for Han Solo's life, and in exchange, they offered the drones to Jabba.
Oh my gosh, Luke's plan throughout that entire sequence, it doesn't make any sense. It's just like for some reason he just plans that they're gonna go over the Sarlacc pit, you know, and then R2D2 is gonna shoot out his lightsaber, and then you know, a cool action sequence is gonna happen. It just doesn't really make sense, you know.
I guess they did that just to like earn his respect or something like that. Because I know he's still mad at Han because he never paid him back.
Yeah, but I don't know why he didn't just, you know, go in there with a lightsaber, because at this point in the series, he's basically a Jedi. He can just force choke people. I never understood why he didn't just go in there and demand Han, or, you know, he's gonna stab him with a lightsaber. Yeah,
Um,
they unfreeze Han, and there's like this little cute thing where it's like, who is it? And Leia's like, someone you love, and, you know, it's kind of cute. After they basically ruin Jabba's whole empire, Luke goes back to Yoda to, you know, complete his training.
yeah, it was kind of weird how Leia was just there being like Jabba's slave. I was like,
Yeah,
ugh.
that's what I mean about this
I
plan
was
not
just
making
cringing.
sense.
Yeah, I know. I was just cringing.
It's just like he gets all his friends captured, and it's like, what if they died, you know?
Yeah.
Did the Force tell you that this was gonna work out, you know? So Yoda dies, and he like
Wait,
reaffirms
what? Wait,
to
hold
Luke.
on. Wait a second. Yoda dies? Wait, when does he die? Wait, I
He
don't
dies
remember.
like right after Jabba's palace. Like Luke goes to Yoda's little hut, and they talk for a bit, and then he fades away into the Force.
Oh wow, I don't remember that part.
Oh,
I,
I'm
I,
sorry. I
I
spoiled it.
oh no, I saw it. I just didn't remember that that happened. Like right
Yeah,
after that.
the placement of Yoda's death was kind of bad, to be honest, because it's like in between all the cool stuff, so you kind of forget about it.
Yeah. He doesn't get involved until later on, like when he actually dies. So like, oh, like out of nowhere, like that's just surprising. They just used that just to make the audience focus back on Yoda, I guess, because they kind of forgot about him.
I feel like the whole Jabba's palace sequence is just like tying up loose ends from Empire and then like transitioning into like the actual Return of the Jedi, you know?
Right.
It just feels a little sloppy the way they handled it.
Yeah, I agree. It was just kind of confusing about like out of nowhere.
Yeah. So Obi-Wan comes out as a ghost and he's like affecting reality now for some reason. He sits on a log and he talks with Luke about how Leia is, his sister. I never liked that plot twist.
Not as much as the "I am your father" plot twist.
Well, the thing about the Vader being Luke's father is that it makes sense in retrospect. Like it doesn't like ruin anything and it makes the movies better. But with the Leia twist, like every time they kiss in the first two, it's like ugh, don't do
Yeah, yeah.
that.
Uh-huh.
It's terrible.
I guess he realizes right away that he means Leia. I thought maybe later he was gonna figure it out. Oh, okay, he already knows. He's a smart boy. He's not Dora anymore. He grew up.
I think I think the original plan was to have Leia be someone else, but like Lucas was going through like a divorce or something, or he went through a divorce, and he merged the third and fourth movies into like this one movie. So he's like, who could I have be Luke's sister so I can wrap this up in one movie? Oh, let's have it be Leia. So they just did that.
Ouch. I'm sorry, Lucas.
A lot of writing points in Return of the Jedi don't really work too well, in my opinion. It doesn't feel as well thought out as Empire.
Oh yeah.
So they regroup and they learn about the second Death Star.
Right. And then Lando joins in, right?
Yeah, you're right. Lando joins in, and Han does not talk about the whole Lando betrayed him thing.
Right. And then
Um,
also Admiral Akbar, he's there too. And then that's when that meme started too.
I think he says it's a trap during the whole fight because the shield generator is still up. The whole plan was they go to Endor and they blow up the shield generator so they can go and blow up the second Death Star. So when they get to Endor, those little teddy bears always kind of bugged me a bit.
Oh yeah, yeah, those little creatures. I forgot what they're called.
They're called
Oh,
Ewoks.
Ewoks. Yeah.
I guess the original plan was to have a bunch of Wookiees, but they probably didn't do it because of like budgetary things. Because could you imagine like having to build all that?
Yeah, I can imagine.
So Lucas basically just chopped them in half, and it's like, oh, they're Ewoks. They're a new race now. Yeah, they're the first time in the original trilogy where I felt like they were trying to like sell toys. They felt too kiddie, if that makes sense.
I kind of see what you're saying, because the little creatures, adults can like have them as some collection or something, but that's another thing.
I mostly just mind their design. I think like the whole Vietnam parallel that they had going on was an okay idea. It wasn't that bad. The idea was to make them seem like savages, kind of like that, like make them seem like they're really ruthless with like how they kill stormtroopers and stuff like that. I wouldn't make them teddy bears if I was gonna have that in there, but that's just me, right?
Yeah, so there's like two separate stuff happening. One is like the little fight in space, and then another one in Endor with everybody else.
You're right. It's cutting between three different things. It's cutting between the battle outside of the Death Star with like Lando and company because the shield generator isn't down. It's got the Battle of Endor with the Ewoks and Han and Leia and stuff like that. And then it's got Luke, the Emperor, and Vader fighting in the Emperor's throne room.
Oh yeah, a lot of stuff is happening there in episode 6.
Yeah, it gets a little tiring watching it because cutting between so many different things. I mean, it gets worse later on, but in this one, it felt like too much. I always loved the Emperor though.
The Emperor.
um, yeah, Ian McDiarmid. I always liked his portrayal of that guy because he's just so gross.
Is that one old guy with a robe, right?
Yeah, he is the Emperor.
Oh, okay. All right, gotcha.
I'm trying to think of how he does his voice. I don't want to butcher it. He's just like,
Right, but he's the one that's trying to get Luke to join the dark side, right?
yeah, that's right. He needs like a new apprentice because Vader kind of sucks, I guess.
Yeah, Vader
Too.
just wanted to kill him or something, or just wanted to defeat him. But
Yeah, they both wanted Luke to the dark side of the Force, and I always interpreted it as the Emperor wants to replace Vader, and Vader wants Luke as like his apprentice, so
yeah,
they could rule the galaxy. So that conflict's pretty interesting, in my opinion. I think it's neat to see like all three of these characters going through some stuff.
right.
And that scene where freaking the Emperor like starts shooting lightning, that always kind of was like, whoa, you know. The original trilogy, it's kind of like just like one long movie. So that's how I watch them anyway. It's just like one really long movie. It's like the Lord of the Rings. So Vader throws Palpatine down a mine shaft, you know, and then he explodes. I always thought that was like a little funny how he just like picks him up and just
Yeah.
gone.
Mhm.
And then Vader is redeemed, which I thought was pretty interesting because the whole movie, Vader's like telling Luke, like, no, I'm too far past. Obi-Wan was wrong about me, you know. Seeing him redeemed like that, it was a nice way of tying off the trilogy, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was surprising how like Luke he didn't kill Darth Vader, he spared him.
Yeah, that whole scene where like Vader's like he might like convert Leia to the dark side, and then Luke's like no, and then he like starts like beating on him. You know, that was such a good moment because at that point you realize, oh shoot, he's like about to go to the dark side. You know,
Yeah, we don't want that
because
happening. Otherwise the world is doomed.
he's the last Jedi pretty much. Yoda and Obi-Wan aren't around.
Yeah, they're just part of the Force now.
Yeah. Overall, I think Return of the Jedi is okay. A lot of people like to nitpick it a lot, but you know, I try and avoid doing that when I watch movies that I like, you know. Movies are hard to make. You can't always have a winner. I just think it's okay.
Yeah, it was kind of sad too that Luke had like his last conversation with Anakin. Now he's not no longer Darth Vader. You see like his shattered face right before he dies.
I always like that scene. It's very short and you get to see Vader's face and you get to see him be redeemed, you know.
Yeah, and it was also good too. Luke was able to like escape with his father's body just like right before when the Death Star exploded. So that's like really good. Like in the ending, they reunited Endor,
Mhm.
and then Han trying to understand about the relationship between Luke and Leia.
Yeah. Oh man, Han is not very good. Thinking about it now. He's like the comic relief in that movie.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like Harrison Ford didn't want to be there the entire time.
So what would you say is your favorite between 4, 5, and 6?
If I had to pick individual moments, I would say Return of the Jedi is like my favorite because the lightsaber fight at the end is really good. It's got good stuff in it, but like as like an overall movie, I would say Empire Strikes Back's my favorite.
Yeah, I like The Empire Strikes Back too. Everything makes a bit more sense compared to in the earlier episodes. Because I know, like in 4, we only know about Luke, R2D2, and C3PO. Episode 5, we learn about Han, a little bit more about Leia and Darth Vader. And
Yeah,
then,
they had like the foundation so they could expand on the characters.
yeah. I kind of like more or less how episode 6 ended. Kind of like a little happy ending, you know.
I always liked it too because the Empire has been defeated. You know, they're celebrating with a bunch of teddy bears. There's like gather around a campfire. Luke looks at a bunch of Force ghosts. What version of the movie did you watch, by the way, for Return of the Jedi?
Wait, there's different versions of it?
Yeah. Okay, so at the very end with like the Force ghosts, what people were there?
Yeah, I just remember about the ending in Endor. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda, they're there like as holograms, and then Luke's there too.
Holograms. That's pretty. I haven't heard that one before, but yeah, they kind of look like holograms.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like how I remember it. The main characters that we know.
What did Anakin look like?
His face looked kind of messed up. It's hard to explain.
You might have saw the special edition.
Special edition? I don't know.
The original Star Wars movies have like these special editions that have like some 90s CGI and stuff like that. And one of the changes was at the very end where instead of having Sebastian Shaw as Anakin, they had Hayden Christensen who played him in the prequels.
Oh, that's interesting because I even know about the different versions, but that's good to know.
Yeah, a lot of people like to say like those special editions ruin their childhood or something like that. Um, but from what I'm hearing, you enjoyed them just the same, right?
Yeah, of course. They're pretty good to watch. Anybody who hasn't watched Star Wars should definitely like start with episode 4, then go to 6. I mean, I don't know if 1 to 3 is worth watching, but
They're not.
They're not.
No, uh, I don't know. A lot of people like them, but I never liked them. I think the characters in them are bad.
And I just never made time to watch it, and I'm just thinking about it. If it's like worth watching.
I mean, if you like the originals, you might like the prequels. Give them a shot at least.
I'll go ahead and give it a shot sometime. I'll think about that. But yeah, this concludes episode 4 of Moore's podcast. Episode 5 will be released soon with some more movies I'm going to talk about with Grandpa Glasses here. So yeah, thank you for having this discussion with me about Star Wars.
Not a problem.
And until in the next episode, till next time, farewell and let the morals be with you.